Hello and welcome to the TCF Morning Show. It is Friday, January 7th, and this morning I'm joined by Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at schools_01 on Twitter. The main page is at typical_Chicago. You can follow me at ZLilia TCF. We're going to start the show off with an amazing interview that we did with the creator, the founder of Obvious Shirts, Joe Johnson. It was a really cool interview. We dove into how he started it in 2015 with the Jake Arrieta stuff, and then where it is today. And then we also ended that interview with there's going to be a promo code. We are going to have TCF 15, so it's 15% off of all purchases on obviousshirts.com. So go over there, get yourself a shirt, and use promo code TCF15, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase all day Friday, January 7th. That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. He told us that at the end of the interview.
It's like
But
a little
the
special Black Friday in January.
Yeah, it's Maddie's son's birthday.
Yeah.
Promo code. So that's how we're gonna do it. But we'll also talk about the Bulls, who are 25-10. They play at home against the Wizards, the first game since Monday. The Blackhawks they lost again. They're just not playing well. They've been giving up 6-7 goals a game. It is just ugly to watch right now, but I would say take the over in every game. And then the Bears Vikings end the season, a game that means nothing. Justin Fields just went into the COVID protocols. Who knows if he'll play? And then we'll end the show like we always do with Boomys Wacky Web Story. But if you want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube page. Our morning shows, podcasts, interviews, food reviews, all on there. And then wherever you get your podcast from, type in Typical Chicago Fans, and you will find us on there. If it's Apple, please subscribe, rate, and review. If it's anywhere else, like you said, type in Typical Chicago Fans, and we will be on there. And then shout out to Connect Roasters. Go over to connectroasters.com for all of your coffee needs. They got coffee, merchandise, ways to make coffee on there. So go follow them on all social medias, and then go over to connectroasters.com and get all of your amazing coffee. Shout out to Connect Roasters. But fellas, how are we doing?
Wonderful. Incredible interview coming right at you. The Bulls are playing well. Weather stinks. We always seem to open this with the weather. The weather stinks.
Well, it's cold,
but hey,
so that sucks.
Yeah, very, 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 very hurting type of cold. But an awesome
degrees.
interview. Yeah, there's
1 degree.
there's barely any temperature. There's only one temperature, 1 degree.
It's a degree.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, an incredible interview. Thanks to Joe for coming on. It was awesome to hear from him. Obviously, the incredible shirt company that he has built. So I'm very excited. I don't know about you guys.
Maddie, how we doing?
Yeah, good. It was great talking to him in the interview. I think everybody's gonna like it. I think you're gonna get to peel back the curtain on a guy who's kind of done something pretty interesting. And I think getting to hear his story, how it kind of developed, was really interesting for me, and I think you guys as well. I think that was really cool, like how he kind of went into his background a little bit with it. But yeah, the weather sucks. Interview was fun. Weekend's approaching. Like you said, kid's birthday. I got the deck is set.
And Maddie may have a new job offer after the interview.
Yeah, we'll see. I see it was a good idea. I'm not gonna lie. It
was a great idea, and he liked it. But let's get right into the interview with the Obvious Shirts founder, creator, Joe Johnson. Follow them on all social medias.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an extremely special guest to welcome to the Typical Chicago Fans podcast. As long as you haven't been living under a rock in the last few years, you've seen this man's creation around Chicago and beyond. He has created some of the most iconic shirts for just about every team across the city, and some amazing designs for amazing causes. His shirts are sold at the Clark Street Sports locations, Wrigleyville Sports, and even in the Cubs team store. Ladies and gentlemen, the creator of the Obvious Shirts brand, Joe Johnson. Joe, how are we doing, my man?
Cold. I'm cold.
Yes.
Other than that, I'm doing good though. But yeah, you think being from Chicago and like living in Chicago now like 10 years, I'd get used to it. I never get used to it.
It's I don't think anything in the single digits of weather is you're able to get used to that. My body will never get used to something like that.
At last check, I saw it was literally a digit. It was 1 degree on my phone.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it had to be negative with the wind chill today.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
It was bad. But other than that, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. This is really cool.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. Great to have you.
Well, anyway, I mean, I'm going to get started. For people who may be a little bit unfamiliar with the company, it's a great name, Obvious Shirts. It's pretty self-explanatory when you really start looking at the products, start looking at the website. But give us a bit of the background. How did you get started in the t-shirt business and in the clothing industry?
So I just kind of like ran into it. I had no plans of doing it. I at the time I was a season ticket holder. It's probably 2015. I worked downtown Chicago, and I can't even tell my own story right. I was in the office one day, and like me and my close friends at the office, we always just shoot the shit about the Cubs. It's kind of like occupies time in the morning, time after the workday. And I was going to games, and I came back from one of Jake's stellar outings because if you guys all remember, the second half of 2015 was just absolutely insane. I just walked into the office, and I was just like, Jake Arrieta's good at baseball, and like. That was the only thing I had to say that day, and that summed it up. And they thought it was funny, and like I was like, you know what, I should like put that on a shirt and wear it to the next game. And they're like, you definitely should. So I had my buddy who I work with make me a shirt, and I wore it to the next game that Jake started, and it was his last regular season start of 2015, and it was against the Brewers. He struck out 11, went 9 innings, gave up 3 hits. And like in the 3rd inning, I went to go get a beer and got bombarded by people. So I was like, okay, thinking back, I made this shirt because I wanted to rep my favorite player and rep the players, because there was not, other than a jersey and jerseys, there wasn't really a lot of player specific t-shirts. So I was like, I want to there might be something to this, and maybe if I keep going and make more shirts about Cub players, fans will catch on. And so, long story short, I just kept making shirt ideas, and I've always kind of thought it kind of goes with my pretty dry sense of humor, but I always would say stupid shit like that and be super basic and state the obvious anyways around my friends about things. So I was like, I'm just going to make a company that's my personality, that says the most basic shit in sports. And I think if people react the way my small sample size of fans and friends have reacted, it could be something. And so I just kept making ideas and getting inspiration from watching Cubs games. And, when I would observe something, I would just say it. I'm like, that would be a shirt. And it literally just snowballed from there. I had no intention of ever being in the t-shirt business, but I love it because I get to live in sports every day. And that's a passion of mine, and especially Cubs.
Yeah, because we saw with the Andrew Chafin and stuff like that, it doesn't just have to be the Cubs too. And then with Ian Happ, I think there was a Cincinnati Bearcats shirt or whatever. It's just cool where it can go to.
Yeah. So when I did put a lot of time into it. I was thinking, if this is worth leaving my job, and at the time it was a pretty good job downtown Chicago. I was selling software, and I was doing really well, but I was like, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it right now. I have to make this leap now, and I better have a game plan. So I thought pulled in all my friends, people that my good buddy who was in business school at the time, chatted with him a lot. And I seriously put idea to paper and said, I'm going to call it the Obvious Shirts company, or the Obvious Company. And then it was the Obvious Shirts, and then Obvious Shirts, and then the Obvious Shirts logo. But I did think, make it as basic and as vague as possible, and let the demand and let what people want, because I wanted it to be for fans to wear. I literally strictly wanted it for Cub fans to be a community, to wear the shirt that they want to wear. And so I did make it as vague as possible to let the fans decide where to take it.
I think, but with that vagueness comes the ability to be be creative too. It gives you that blank canvas that you get to just kind of go wild with, because whatever happens is a new idea at that point. That's pretty interesting. I like the way you kind of, it seems like you just kind of found a passion and just kind of dove into it. That's motivational, in a lot of ways too. That I think, like I got a background in marketing. That's what I went to school for. So when I see somebody kind of take an idea that they just kind of grab and run with it, I really respect that. I think that's a really cool way to go about it. And I think that just gives you the, kind of an endless ceiling at that point when your heart's into it, and then you got the blank slate to do whatever you want, really. I mean, you get to kind of just go wherever you take it. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, thanks. That means a lot. Like, I mean, with what like you were saying, you have to have passion. Like, this would not have worked if I wasn't passionate about the Cubs, and if I like watch the Cubs religiously and really follow the team and really care and have a pulse for like what fans want. Yeah, there was some really, like, year one when I quit my job and I like dove into this, I was like every night being like, oh God, what did I do? Like, I left security and I left like a good job and I was living in a high rise downtown. Like, I was like, this could all go away too. Like, but I just thought I was, I don't know, 26, 27 at the time. And I just thought, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I tried to make this I tried to be as little as creative as possible, or like use at the least amount of creativity in the designs. I tried to make the shirt look basic on purpose. But as time goes on, I have got to use the creative side of my brain and kind of develop it into more than just words on shirts. And even how you break down a phrase or a saying, I think there's a creative spin to it. So I never really saw it as creative. I just saw it as like basic, obvious, sarcastic, literal. And it worked.
Coming from somebody who's been called a sarcastic asshole, I can appreciate that. So,
everybody's got a little like, I think that's why it works. Everybody has a little bit of sarcasm in it. And I think like the literal sense of saying something like will always be somewhat funny if it's delivered correctly. It'll be funny.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Especially the way if somebody finds out about it, like, oh, the obvious shirts, and then they go to the site and you're like, oh, now that you kind of like, even when you like first go to the site, you're like, you understand it right away.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you guys like notice that right away and pick up on that is huge, because like that is the intention, but it's easy to intend on something and not hitting it. So like the fact that you can go there and that's whole part of like why I've never really spent any dollars on marketing. Like, if you're interested, you're going to go to the website, and if you like a design that you see on the website and the brand connects with you, you'll buy a shirt. So I don't like throwing ads in front of people's faces. If you understand it and you get it and you like it, good. If you don't, you think it's stupid and it's uncreative, good. Like, it's not for everybody, but it's just who I am, and I'm just putting my personality into my brand. So yeah, either way, I'm cool with it. As long as some people like it, then I did my job.
That's an awesome way of thinking about stuff.
It's pretty clear a lot of people like it too.
Yeah. After the Jake Arrieta is good shirt, which was like one of the first ones, what was the next one that really popped off?
Kyle Schwarber crushes baseballs. So a lot of the story is luck. If I didn't wear that shirt on that game that Jake pitched lights out, I probably wouldn't have gotten approached, and I probably wouldn't have been like, this is something I could do more of pretty easily. And to hit, like, I don't know, I call it, I hit a home run with Jake and I hit a triple off the wall with Kyle. My family's big IU. We're big Indiana Hoosiers, and so Kyle went to IU, and I had a blue shirt already, so I'm like, I'm not gonna make another blue shirt. I'm gonna make a red shirt, and I'm red and white to pay homage to IU, and I just did Kyle Schwarber crushes baseballs, and then some guy in New York. So I don't shout out to that guy. Some guy that lives in New York bought the shirt, wore it to a game, and this was probably this might have even been early 2017, because you got to remember, in 2016, I was just slinging in the Jake shirt, just to family and friends and social media. I had no idea the Cubs were going to win, just word of mouth. I didn't take this like serious until 2017. And then lo and behold, like when we played the Mets, it was pretty early on. I want to say maybe May or maybe early June. Kyle hit like a 480-foot just absolute bomb in Citi Field, and the camera went right to a guy wearing my shirt. And then that night I sold like 100 while the game was still going on, and I like sold out of everything that I pre-ordered. So I'm like, I'm just gonna let this baby run. And I woke up and there were like 390, 400 shirts sold.
Wow.
Because it got picked up by MLB, and then it went viral on like Reddit and MLB and Twitter, because just the game caption was just that fan wearing my shirt. And the cool thing about my shirts is, and this was by design, is that the title of my shirts are what's on my shirts. So when you go to Google and you type in, you see that shirt on TV, Kyle Schwarber crushes baseballs. You type in Kyle Schwarber crushes baseball shirt. Guess what? It pops right to my shirt. And that's how it
automatic works. SEO at that point.
Automatic, yeah. So, but a lot of it's luck. Like honestly, I would not be here today I got 2 like really big lucky breaks, and then after that, I was like, I need to go back to a blue shirt. So I'm allergic to St. Louis because I am, and I hate St. Louis. I don't hate St. Louis. I hate the Cardinals.
I love that.
I hate St. Louis. Fuck that city.
But like you were saying with the advertisement, I mean, you get advertisement every time the Cubs play a home game or away game. You know what I mean? Like when they show the fans or whatever, and you see somebody with the shirt, like if you're going to see that and you're a Cubs fan, you're going to go, like you said, you can just type in literally what it says on the shirt and they'll find it right away.
Right.
Yep.
It's perfect.
It took me until like 2019 of like pushing shirts on social and tying them. Like, I try my best. I'm still learning. I'm still growing, but like I was never a Twitter person. I was never really a social media guy. And I knew that I needed to start making like content and pairing it with my shirts for Cub fans to get it and grasp it and maybe check it out. So, I take a lot of pride in like the social media side of things, and it was just a lot of doing that to get people to buy. And then until like 2019 is when I really started seeing like multiple shirts at Wrigley. And I go to a lot of games. I go to about 20 or 30 games a year. So seeing that, like the first time you see your shirt at Wrigley that somebody else is wearing is like a pretty cool feeling. But it was a grind, man. Like it was a grind, and there were many, many, many low days with this.
I'm sure we gotta give a shout. It seems like the
motivation has always been there.
Yeah, I'm a competitive dude. I played baseball my whole life, played competitively in college. Like I mean, if it's ping pong, if it's basketball, if it's 21, if it's dodgeball, I don't really give a shit. I'm like a very competitive guy and I want to win. So I took this on as like a game, and like, I just refused to let myself fail at this because I cared too much about it, and I worked too hard at it. So I'm like, I'm not gonna fail. So that's not an option. That mindset, I don't know. I think a lot of it's luck, but that mindset like carried me through the tough times. And I'm just like, wake up. You got a rough day, or you had a rough day yesterday. Like, flush it. Like, it's a new day. Keep going.
Absolutely. Like you said, like the thing that, you said the word of mouth. I mean, we got to give a shot. One of our guys, our buddies, Nick, he might be your biggest fan. Because every time, like you said, like the advertising, every time he gets a shirt, he loves it. So he, takes a picture of it and sends it to everybody, and he's on every one. And like you said, that word of mouth and, people just seeing it kind of out in the wild, is advertisement in and of itself. It's a really big, beautiful thing to see. But has there ever, obviously your growth over the last few years, have you ever had, what was your like, holy shit moment where you saw, either like a celeb or an athlete wearing your shirt? Do you remember one of those moments?
Yeah, the first big one was Tom Morello, because I'm a huge Rage fan.
Sweet.
And so he reached out. Well, what happened was, shout out to Chicago History, the Chicago History page. They post a lot of cool shit about Chicago. They like one of my early shirts, because again, I didn't know this was like probably 2016. End of 2016. I had like maybe 2 or 3 shirts by the end of 2016. No, that's not right, because this was probably early 2017. I was like, okay, I hit with Jake, I hit with Kyle. My allergic to St. Louis popped off pretty well, and then NBC Sports did a video or whatever, and I was wearing so that popped, and I was like, my fourth one was like, I still call it the Sears Tower, because nobody calls it the Willis Tower, like nobody.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm gonna make sure that says I still call it the Sears Tower, and Chicago History saw that and like picked it up. And I remember I was like, Tom Morello follows this page, and Tom Morello liked that. And Tom Morello took like that Chicago history post, and like back when you could like repost shit on Instagram, like that was like a time where everybody reposted. I don't know if they still do, whatever. But he reposted that shirt, and he's like, "Yeah, I love it." And he bought it, but he didn't buy it under the name Tom Morello, because I would have been like, "Holy shit, Tom Morello!" So he got that shirt, and he got my greatest game shirt. I don't know who got it for him or whatever, but like months after that, it was baseball season, and he was wearing the greatest game shirt. So it was early 2017. He wore the greatest game shirt to like his opening day at Wrigley, and I was just freaking out.
That's incredible.
That's sick. I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan too, so that's
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tom's the man, and we've talked a few times. Like he reaches out on Twitter DMs and Instagram DMs, and like we've gone back and forth a few times about other like Chicago themed ideas, and he loves Chicago. But yeah, he was probably the first like celebrity that I like lost my mind over seeing it, because after that, like it didn't really phase me. Like the players wearing it, like it's really cool. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like envious of professional baseball players. Like I'm jealous of them because they get to play baseball for a living. So when I meet them or I see them, I don't get like that. But like Tom Morello, I would act like a 13-year-old all over again.
Totally get it. I totally get that. Not to like totally change gears on you, but recently most Chicago sports fans are familiar with the story of Jeff Dickerson at this point. And Obvious Shirts made a special design in honor of JD, and a pledge to donate 100%, not 15 or 20 or 30, but literally 100% of the proceeds to JD's son's Parker Dickerson's GoFundMe account. And so kudos to Obvious Shirts on a gesture. It's obviously going to make an impact. Life-changing impact on an 11-year-old boy. Last I saw it was over $50K. What Obvious Shirts has contributed, which is just it's insane in itself. So kudos to you and your company on that. But I got to ask, now that the fund itself is over $1 million in his name, what prompted you to get involved into the situation?
Well, how it came to be was obviously when I found out, I was like super shook about it. Like I didn't really know what was going on. I knew there was tweets earlier on, like a week, 2 weeks ago, and everybody knows JD if you follow the Bears, and he was like, I remember back in the day, I wouldn't believe something or like trade rumors or like personnel updates, like unless he like tweeted it or said it, then I was like, yeah, it's okay, it's legit. Like JD just said it, it's true. So like as a fan of his, it just I don't know. I wanted to do something, and the only thing I can do is make a shirt. Hopefully, people will like and wear and representing him. So the honest story is, I was talking with a few people about doing a JD shirt, and a guy reached out to me on Twitter. Like because I didn't know if I wanted to get involved. I didn't know how it would look. I didn't know what the whole circumstance was, and I didn't want to just push something out to push something out. But a gentleman emailed me on Twitter and said, "Hey, you got to do like a JD shirt or something." I was like, okay, like that was the sign I needed, because I was thinking about it, and I do Bears work with I do like a Bears line with Adam Hogan, Adam Johns, and that's going well. And so I was like, I'm gonna do something similar and use like a bear silhouette and just put JD in it. And then if people don't know what JD is, I put his name, like Jeff Dickerson with the 4 Chicago Stars, on the sleeve just to pay homage. And some people might not say, hey, who's JD? So you can tell the story. His name's there. Keep the conversations going. The whole thing with my shirts is to get people talking and get conversations going. So even if by wearing a JD shirt, you can remember him and talk about him and spark conversation about what an incredible professional he was, mission accomplished. And I'm a super small company, so I don't have a bunch of overhead. I've 2 full-time, and my girlfriend Grace is like she's like a super trooper. She does everything, kind of like a mixed bag. We'll fold, we'll do inventory, we'll count, we'll organize, but I don't have a lot of expenses, so I don't need a lot. So I'm like, if I can donate my time and my money, that's all I can give. And so I have no issue doing that.
We've seen with the Mongo shirts and the Sylvie Strong shirts that you have done. I was listening to Waddle and Sylvie the other day, and they actually brought up the JD shirts, and they brought up how Sylvie kind of said that he's got good insurance and stuff, so he wanted it to go to a charity. So it's just awesome what you've done with a company that you built, and now you're giving back to people. It's just awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm super lucky. I have an awesome mom who like taught me when I was a little kid to give. Don't worry about receiving. We're just worried about giving, and giving your time and volunteering and doing good for society and good for others will make everything better. And if it's just a fraction better, well, you made a difference and you made it better. So, yeah, I have an awesome mom, and she taught me to be a giver, and like that's the best part of what I'm doing is not like meeting the athletes and getting texting Cubs players in the off season or any of that. Like the best part, and I know that sounds really pompous and a little douchey, I don't know, but the best part by far, bar none, is the ability to give back and to build that community that also cares and also wants to give back. And like that is a feeling that I can't really describe. And it's never a big difference, but it's a difference. And like that keeps me super hungry to do more because I see the impact that it has on others. And that's more rewarding than anything else.
Yeah, hats
That's
off, man.
amazing.
It's phenomenal. That's what it's all about. But I got to ask you, change gears again. I got a buddy, kid I went to school with for the longest time, and he was in on the Try Not to Suck shirts back in like 2015 and 16. So I've got a bad taste for knockoff T-shirts. So be honest, how much do knockoff obvious shirts just drive you crazy? Because I have this really like weird boiling point when I see knockoff obvious shirts and the Try Not to Suck shirts. Does that stuff get under your skin after a while?
It used to. The first year it did. It bothers like my friends more. Like it bothers my family more when they see it. They'll like text me and be like, "How dare they?" And this is ridiculous. Honestly, it doesn't really bother me at all anymore because if you buy a knockoff, and people buy knockoffs for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's less expensive. It's 100% less quality, but if they wear that shirt and people think it's me, well, then people think it's me and they think it's my shirt. And at the end of the day, it's not really about me, or that's mine. It's more about my ideas obviously translated to something and people like them enough to reproduce them. And if people are buying them to wear them, they care about at least the shirt or the Cubs. And so, again, I did this for the fans. And if fans are wearing my shirts, hopefully they're wearing the real thing. And I have new identifiers that we're going to put on our shirts to spruce them up a little bit that will make sure that it's an original obvious shirt. But honestly, it doesn't knockoffs don't bother me anymore. What bothers me the most is people that, sell, and knockoff companies fall into this, but people that are not paying like tens of thousands of dollars to use Cubs logos, to use player likeness, that they just make money off of a moment with no consequence because it's easy to do. So like that's what I spend. If anything bothers me, it's all the. And there's a lot of companies out there that just sell unlicensed gear because like you have to pay to play, and there are so many ideas and so many shirts that I want to come out with, but it's got to go through 3 levels of approval. And the people that don't worry about anybody's approval because they don't need to, where I'm kind of getting looked at what I'm doing, they can make anything pretty quickly, and that part sucks because I want to be original and I want to come out with a thought. And I've seen a lot of my ideas, or a lot of ideas that I've had, have been done quicker than me because they don't have to go through the approval process.
Right,
That's
you're putting in the work and going through all the steps, and then somebody else is just like, "Oh, I'll skip." You're going through A, B, and C, and they're just starting at the starting line, and then they're already going to the final product without having to jump through those hoops that you have to jump through. That would be frustrating. I totally understand.
And like approvals they vary. So like when I have a really good idea I know it's a hot moment, and I want to capture that moment and give fans what they want in that moment. Sometimes I have to wait a couple of days and the moment's over. And baseball has a lot of moments. You have 162 games. So that moment's over with, and we're already playing a new game by the time I get approved, and that's frustrating, but that's just the way it is. And I still think doing it the right way, and with its downfalls, in the long run, it'll be good for me. But that's the most frustrating part of it.
Oh yeah, because it's you can go through the process, but the people who don't go through the process, they're not going to last. I mean, that's not going to work. You're going to get legal troubles and stuff like that. So, with what you have to do, you're doing it the right way, and that is you see with doing it the right way is how you really build a business.
Yeah, it's a marathon. It's a distance game. It's not a sprint. So just do the right thing, and people will buy good T-shirts. I'm very confident that I'll have more good ideas. I've learned a lot on how to balance, what's going to be a good moment and what's going to be a good idea and what has staying power and what idea I missed the mark on. I mean, it happens. But yeah, it's a learning experience. But to answer questions, the knockoffs don't bother me anymore. And
I'll try to simmer down a little bit because I get a little irrationally angry for guys like you and a guy like my buddy. I'll work on simmering down because for literally the longest time after I talked to my buddy when they were getting hot with the try not to suck shirts, and I never even really thought about it. Like a lot of these shirts, you don't even realize it till he made it apparent to me that a lot of them are not even theirs. And I'm like, wait, people just knock this stuff off, and it never appeared to me, and now I'm like irrationally angry over it.
It's called intellectual property for a reason, Boomy.
Yeah, exactly. So
hey, you know what though? Hearing that you get upset about it, that is like super awesome to hear, because like you care. That just means that you care about authenticity and being original. Like that, I pride myself on being original, and it's very hard to like really stay by your own creative ideas when there's chances are there's a lot of people in this country, there's a lot of people that make sports shirts. Chances are, like, an idea that you might have or an idea that I might have, somebody somewhere might have done that before. But like,
right.
So the fact that you do get upset is like, that's cool. Don't stop getting upset. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I got you. I got your back when I'm walking around the streets in Wrigleyville getting irrationally angry.
It's all right to have an army here and there. Let's not kid ourselves.
I got your back.
Yeah. Well, you got to always know that the original shirts are in Wrigley Field, where there are some shirts that you can buy outside, which might be the knockoffs, but the real ones are inside Wrigley Field, which is just so cool to say.
That is.
Amen.
Okay, so with everything starting off with the Arrieta shirt, then the Schwarber shirt, and then you said the Sears Tower shirt. How'd that process go? How did you get to that point where you're like, all right, I got to start connecting with the other teams, other stories, other situations in the city of Chicago, maybe other just some of the character, like tapping into the character of Chicago and making shirts with that. Like, how did you go about some of those ideas?
Well, selfishly, I just started with what I like, and like what I care about. Growing it into other sports, growing into other teams within baseball was very difficult. So what I did was I just started with my other favorite players. Like I love Joey Votto. I really like Nolan Arenado before he went to the dark side. Like just other players, Fernando Tatis Jr., like players that I find fun to watch. I start there. And then, so that gets me into other fan bases. In terms of Chicago, like, I knew when I was 7 years old that I wanted to live in Chicago. I love Chicago. I'm from Northwest Indiana originally, Crown Point, Region 219, represent. But like, I knew that I wanted to be in Chicago. And so I love the city. I love the architecture. I love just the people, the friendliness. It's the best skyline in the entire globe. So like, I just started with what I liked, and I really haven't dive deep into Chicago. That's always been a like goal, and to continue making more of a Chicago theme. I just kind of got sucked into the Cubs because I care about the Cubs the most, and I just started making a lot more with the Cubs. And obviously, I'm 33, so I grew up watching Michael Jordan, and being a Bulls fan, and it was very hard to be a Bulls fan like the past 8 years. But it's super exciting that they're back and that they have a great team, and I genuinely love the personnel of the players. And so I'm going to dive into more Bulls because they're enjoyable again. And Chicago's always been a football town, and when the Bears are good, everybody is just like vibing, and when the Bears are bad, then we can voice our frustration. So it wasn't hard to go to transition from Chicago sports. Where I find myself stuck is like I have a company now that has momentum and steam and it's doing well. Like what do fans want? Again, I do this for all of us. What do the fans want?
I've got an idea. Neighborhoods on like those summer festivals. So you do like a neighborhood themed shirt at whatever that given neighborhood summer festival is.
You're
You sell
hired.
it to
You can run ops for our summer festivals this year, and we can design shirts specifically for that.
There you go.
You're in. Great idea.
That's awesome.
But what you were saying, like you started in Chicago, you always want to be in Chicago. Is there any other like you said players, but is there any other like baseball, basketball, any kind of like other cities that you would like to get involved in?
Yeah, so like I definitely vibe with the NBA. I've always been a basketball guy. I played basketball all my life as well. Basketball and baseball are my two sports, so like I enjoy watching basketball. So it's been really hard because again, up until this past July, and I hired my first time like full-time employee to help me out. I was doing literally everything myself. I was doing the fulfillment, the packaging, the ordering, the buying, the finances, the taxes, the social media marketing, the idea creation, like the web store, the website design. I was just getting burnt out, so I just stuck.
You're like pressing shirts and everything?
What's that?
Were you like pressing shirts and everything? I mean,
In 2017, I was printing my own shirts, and I realized really quickly I absolutely hated that. And so I still have my first press. It's at the office, but I outsourced that as soon as I could. Eventually, we're going to bring it back in house because you can do a lot more creative stuff and a lot quicker turnaround times. But I won't be actually printing the shirts. Never again. I don't have the patience.
I couldn't imagine. How long of a process is that?
It's a lot longer than people think. So what you do first is you go into Illustrator and you create the art. And then when you have to take that art and you have to put it on a special film, a special paper by a special printer, and then you do the negative and the reverse, and you cook that art into a screen. And just prepping the screen, you have to put a solution on the screen, the silk screen, let it dry and harden, and then you use ultraviolet light to burn that image into the screen. And then you take that screen and you power wash the shit out of it until the image, like hard part stays, and the soft part that doesn't get the light because it's blacked out by your artwork, that's soft and that shoots out, and that becomes where the paint goes or the ink goes through. Then the hardest part comes because you have to set up the printer, and you have to set up the printer precisely perfectly every time for every shirt to hit center, to line it up, to not be crooked. So you have to play with a bunch of knobs and a bunch of lining things up and using equal like a level, and some have lasers, and then you have to set that up, and then you have to do that 4 times. On my manual, I have 4 stations. You do that 4 times, and you have to load up the shirts. You have to put a sticky substance on the pallet. You put the shirt on there. You have to line the shirt up. Like, I already lost you. Like, rightfully so. It's a
yeah, like 13 steps ago.
That's a big
process.
factory that sounds necessary.
It's so much harder than people think.
Yeah, I
So
thought
anyone
you just
complaining about the
put the
price
shirt
of a
there.
shirt is nuts.
I think you just put the shirt in, the design just went down, and the shirt was made.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
There's ways to do it. There's a lot of different techniques. You can do like heat transfers, vinyl transfers, a plotter cutter, and all that. But the setup to get the right artwork, like centered on the shirt, and to get it consistent size and a consistent like feel. And I'm definitely OCD about the quality and the look and the feel. And if something's a smudge off, I donate it. But yeah, the setup time is all the time. You pay for the setup time. And then once you set up, then you can run that, an automatic press. Other than refilling ink and readjusting to make sure it's lined up, you can knock out 3,000 shirts every hour and a half on an automatic.
Wow. That's nuts. But we got some rapid fire questions. But before we even get to that, I got to ask one question. Outside of obvious shirts, what's your favorite memory you've ever had as a Cubs fan?
My favorite memory?
Or a game you attended, anything Cubs related?
That's a great question. I mean, I have like a few. I went to all the home games in the World Series. Those were great, especially Game 5 to know that we're still alive and we have a chance at this. I was at the Miggy home run game. I was in left center, and he hit that pretty high up in left. So I was even with it, but it was just probably 2 sections over. That was awesome because everybody in the bleachers just threw their beer up, and luckily I live 30-second walk from the stadium outside of the bleacher entrance and exit by the Harry Carey statue. I remember just walking home freezing cold because I was just drenched in beer. Yes. And I walked into my house and like my girlfriend was like, "You look awesome." And I'm like, "I need a shower." And it's because I was just stoked. But she could just tell that every emotion came out of me already. And then game 7, I had everybody over at the house, and the streets of Wrigley, there were just people everywhere. High five. I've never seen like my neighborhood like that, where people were sprinting down the street, car horns and car alarms were going off, and then about 5 minutes later, you see a whole wave of people walking down Addison towards the stadium. The 2015 wild card game, I was at Mullins, rest in peace, Mullins, my favorite bar on Clark Street, to watch Jake Deal. So it's hard to say what my favorite memory is. And then yeah, that's a great question though. I have to
being that close to the stadium. I'm sure you've got hundreds of them that
What are your guys' favorite memories? Let's talk about you.
Oh, that's a good question. I went to opening day in 1996. That's really made me a Cubs fan. That was it wasn't a great team by any stretch, but I remember going because I think I was like 5 or 6, and my dad got tickets somehow. We went, and it was very obviously early, and it was the coldest baseball game I've ever gone to. I was sitting out there in my winter coat, and my dad kept trying to egg me to go to the car. I think he was cold, and he's like, "Don't you want to go to the car and warm up?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." We stayed the whole 9 innings, and ever since then, it's been memory number 1 for sure.
You guys remember the stereotypical cliche walking up the steps at Wrigley for the first time? Yep. Remember that and how awesome that felt?
Yes, you can't recreate something like that. That's phenomenal. I'll never forget that day. That's for sure.
I was there the day Chris Bryant got his first career hit with the Cubs, and then that night we went to the Bulls playoff game. I don't remember which one it was. They were playing the Wizards, and it was like Carlos Boozer and Joe Keem and that was just a fun day. We went straight from Wrigley Field to the United Center, and it was so cold, but it was like a few weeks into the season because I remember they held him down in the minors for like 2 weeks to start the season, and then it was like his second game with the Cubs, and he got a hit, and then we went over and watched the Bulls lose. I think it was like 80-76 was the score.
Oh, that's low. That's low for an NBA game.
Yeah,
it was. It was like there wasn't. It was. I think it was right around the time Derrick Rose was like in limbo, trying to come back. He didn't know if he was going to come back, and Carlos Boozer was out there. I think Carlos Boozer missed maybe a game winner, and I think it was the game he ever played with the Bulls.
Yeah, man, Derrick Rose, that gets me. That just sends me thinking about him.
Oh, think about all the amazing obvious shirts that could have been printed about Derrick Rose back 10 years ago.
Not yet, true, but not even that. Just being like ability-wise, talent-wise. Ability-wise, he could have been the second greatest Chicago Bull of all time.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, he was insane.
I got 3 Cub ones real quick that just pop off in my brain. I'm a little bit older. So I got some older memories of the Cubs. My first one, 98. I was 15. Kerry Wood, 20 strikeouts in May. The sixth start of his career. I had baseball practice that was canceled because of the weather. It was rainy and shitty out that day. So I got to come home. It was probably the 4th or 5th inning at that point. So I got to watch that one. That one I'll never forget. Wood was just absolutely dealing. Never seen a curveball move like that. It was literally like ghost shit on the mound. That pitching ninja would have had a field day with it.
Oh man.
Yes.
Pitching ninja, Rob. I love that guy.
Guy's got a hell of an account going there. 2003 before the NLCS, but This was a little bit a more personal one. When they clinched the division, it was a doubleheader against the Pirates. They swept the doubleheader. Astros lost. And Matt Clement got the clinching start. I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings in Michigan City, Indiana, with my dad and my brother for the entire doubleheader.
Yeah.
My brother was blackout drunk. My dad had to drive him home. I was up at school, so I met him halfway, in Michigan City. So so that was another personal one that stands out. Obviously the World Series run, all that stuff too. So I actually remember the first time they clinched the playoffs in my life too was '89. That's how old I am. So
Nice.
yeah, they got just slaughtered by the Giants.
I actually have a not so great memory. I was actually at the game that Sammy Sosa had the corked bat. And my sister was, they used to have the celebrity. I don't know if they still do celebrity bat kids. And you send in your information. You get to go like on the field, and I think there was like 2 kids that they'd pick, and you got to go out there, and then you get tickets to the game, and that was the game. She had her picture.
Was it her fault? Did she put the BP bat in there?
She has a picture with Sammy Sosa in the dugout before the game.
Your sister planted the BP.
We still blame her for that.
I tell her every time. I tell her every time. It was one of the more confusing things ever because we're like sitting there and you're there to see Sammy Sosa, and then he doesn't come back out, and you're kind of like, it's like you don't have social media to just go on Twitter and be like, oh yeah, he got in trouble for this or whatever, and so you're sitting there the whole game wondering.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in that because Sammy was a huge reason why I was a Cub fan, and it was pretty much the only reason to go to the stadium from 1997 to 2000. Well, 2001, 2002. Like he was the guy. Besides Wood and Pryor and Derek, and all that. Well, Derek Lee came after whatever. I was just crushed. And then I remember I was 8th grade, and so we had our 8th grade science class. Your 8th grade before you go to high school, you have a big science project, and I made mine cork bat versus non-cork bat because I wanted, and we put it on this huge spring-loaded pendulum, and it hit a ball on a tee. And I don't think the cork bat hit the ball much further. I think it's more of a bat speed thing. The bat's a lot lighter, so it generates more bat speed. But I was so happy that I proved myself right, thinking the cork bat didn't even make a difference, and Sammy wasn't trying to cheat, or Sammy wasn't trying to hit the ball further. But yeah, that was
vindicated.
Yeah, that was a moment, and the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout game. That was the only day I remember I did not ride the bus home from elementary school. My mom, superhero mom, came and got me because our bus rides after elementary school were 45 minutes long to an hour. And she came and picked me up from school so I could go home and watch the end of it. So thank you, Mom.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's a superhero move for sure. That's incredible.
Yeah, Georgine Johnson is a saint.
What a move, man. All right, we got some rapid fire to close this up here. So we'll say what it is. You give us the first thing that comes to mind. So I'll get it started.
Oh, man, put me on the spot.
What'd you say?
You're putting me on the spot.
Oh, yeah. Yep, got to be ready. All right, your pick. T-shirt, long sleeve, or hoodie?
Hoodie.
Yeah, good answer.
Absolutely.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
More. Hot dog or pizza?
Pizza.
Also the correct answer.
White pinstripes, away grays, or alternate blues?
White pinstripes.
Love it.
All right, spring baseball game or a fall baseball game, not including playoffs?
Spring, because optimism.
Oh, great choice.
Muted.
Bleacher seats or box seats? God damn, the furnace is on. I had to mute myself. Bleacher seats or box seats?
Bleachers, because it's a party and you get to see the game come at you.
I think I know the answer to this one. Day game or night game?
Day game.
All right, I got to add this one, too, with your Tom Morello story. Rage Against the Machine or Audio Slave?
Rage, but Audio Slave had some banging years there. They had some
great... really good live, too. Chris Cornell, R.I.P., man. That guy was a very, very good front man.
Yeah, but Rage made me... Sometimes Rage was the only thing when I was in a mood that could fix it.
Couldn't agree more. Still is.
Still is. You're right.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Right on. Well, Joe, thanks for coming on, man. It was great having you. Make sure everyone checks out Obvious Shirts. Like I said, if you haven't heard of Obvious Shirts yet and you're a Chicago fan, I don't know where you've been living, what you've been doing, but Obvious Shirts on any social media, make sure you check them out. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. You are always welcome on the pod. We cannot thank you enough for coming on and joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I could talk baseball and sports with you guys all day. Let's do a 15% off. I'll let you three pick what the code is whenever you release this video. Everybody who watches or can see it on social will do a 15% off code. Let me know what it is, and we'll do it for your guys' fan base and listeners. Because you guys have also built something really cool here.
Appreciate it a lot, man.
Thank you very much. That's
absolutely
awesome.
Well, everyone, make sure you check out Obvious Shirts, Joe Johnson.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
all good,
man.
Zach?
Perfect. Boys, that was awesome. It was a great interview. He was so fun to talk to. He genuinely loves what he does, and the motivation that he has for starting his own business and stuff like that is just something that should inspire people.
Yeah, Zach, one of the coolest things. The coolest things that he said when we talk about, I mean, Matt probably talks to his kids about this. Any younger generation, you always tell them, find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Like this guy has found it. This guy has a passion for baseball. He has a passion for being a fan, and he has found a way to make a living off of it. And he's doing some incredible things, giving back to the community, giving back to, great causes. Like you said, very inspirational. He's a great dude, and it was a great conversation.
Let's not kid ourselves too. The guy put his nuts on the table and kind of said, I'm going to take my dream, my vision, I'm going to put it to work and see if I can make it. And, get to respect the hell out of that too.
But he also had a plan. That's what people need to realize. You got to have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to have a plan. You got to have, the drive, the passion for it, all of it. Seems like a good dude. It seems like sky's the limit for him if he keeps this up, in my opinion.
Like I said, an awesome interview. We'll definitely be talking to him again. We will promise you that. But go over to the obviousshirts.com and use the promo code TCF15 for 15% off of all purchases on Friday, January 7th. It's TCF Day. It's Maddie's son's birthday. It's TCF Day. What a day it is. It's a Friday, too, so that's even better. We haven't seen the Bulls play since Monday. It sucks we haven't been able to watch them, but they do need a little bit of time off because they got a lot of games coming up with rescheduled games and stuff like that. They are 25-10. They play the Wizards at home. Fellas, I can't stop watching these Bulls. I've been watching replays of the games.
Dude, I feel like a broken record because I feel like every time we get on here, I damn near say the same thing, but like legitimately cannot miss television right now. Like
two MVP candidates. Say what you want.
Yes.
I think they both could be in the discussion. Not saying they're going to win, but they're both in the discussion.
Yeah, it's so fun.
You got two guys who are potential NBA All-Star starters. They have to be in that conversation. The teams in first in the East right now, they've got the best record. They kind of have shown that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, and that conference. So
they are number one in the East by themselves right now. Kyrie comes back for the Nets, so that we'll see how that goes for the Nets. They are second in the East, but I don't know. This team is so fun to watch, and they're so exciting. They seem like they really love playing together. They're playing for each other.
Yeah, dude. And another thing to add to that, I don't know how many people saw it going around on social media, but Thursday night was Ayo Dosunmu's jersey retirement at U of I.
Retirement at Champaign, and DeMar DeRozan was there.
Yes, drove down from Chicago, a guy he's literally been playing with. I mean, this guy's a 13 or 14-year veteran. This guy got and drove 2+ hours down to Champaign for a guy he's been playing with for 4 months.
A rookie.
I mean, it just shows these guys like playing with each other, and it's very obvious. And even outside of that, Mac McClung was playing for the Windy City Bulls last night, and Zach LaVine was there. I know it's not the 2-hour drive.
It just seems like they don't. There's no he's DeMar's the leader. but he makes everyone feel like, yeah, he's the superstar right now, but he doesn't make everyone feel like, oh yeah, I'm the superstar or whatever.
Oh.
No, he's so down to earth, awesome. Like the other night after he missed, like he was like 7 for 13 from the free throw line, he went and shot like 200 free throws after the game.
Made 250 free throws.
It
That's
sounds
insane.
It sounds obvious. That's just what, that's how you build a team. And that when you don't have the Durant, or you don't have the Steph Curry, you don't have that elite player, but you've got two probably elite players, you can still do it when you've got that cohesion, you got that unit, you got that team behind them. They've got the depth, they've got scoring inside and out. There's no reason they can't win the East. There's really no reason they can't. They're going to do it differently, in my opinion, than maybe what like the roadmap that's been drawn with the get your 3 stars and hope for the best, kind of what the Nets are doing. The Bulls are doing it differently, and I think that they could be built for a little bit of sustained success too. Hopefully.
Unfortunately, the Warriors are getting Klay Thompson back, but guess what? You don't got to see them until the finals, so we'll worry about that when that happens. But I think this team can compete with any team in the league.
Yeah. In 7 games, like you take that team that the cohesion is there. And Matt, to add to what you said, how about when DeMar hit that second buzzer beater and Jordan Bell, a guy who was signed to a 10-day contract, like sprinted across the floor to make sure he got the ball for DeMar DeRozan.
He did that
He had
both
been there
times.
for like 3 days.
He did it both times. He hit a game winner.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who comes in and can automatically understand that.
I can't remember when the last time the Bulls were fully healthy. They've had Caruso's had an injury now in COVID stuff, and then Javonte Green's out for 2 to 4 weeks. I can't wait to see this team when they're back at full strength.
Side note: I'm pretty sure Jordan Bell was drafted by the Bulls.
Yes, he was.
And then dealt to the
Warriors
for cash, and Sylvie blew up about it. Sylvie went absolutely bananas about it, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's just that's what they used to do. Just like, can we get a little cash for
player that you got that's got a future in the league? Oh, let's just fucking dump him for some money.
Let's be happy that we have AK running the team now.
For sure.
But thank God we have the Bulls, because the Blackhawks just aren't very good this year.
Plus those Coyotes, dude. They just lost the Coyotes 6-4.
They're scoring goals, but they're giving up a lot.
They traded Nylander.
Well, yeah, that's a positive.
That guy's
shouldn't have. Yeah, well, having Yoki Haru would have been a lot better right now, because he's a defenseman like that. But I actually wrote a blog about Yoki Haru in my former days. I really wish they still had that guy. He was a good young defenseman at the time, but that team's headed nowhere right now. That's the way it is. They need to take a match and blow the whole damn thing up at this point.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
They're likely not going to have a first rounder if they don't fall in the top 3. So
it's just not good. But hey, we got the Bulls. Not good, but we got the Bulls. That's what we can say about the Blackhawks right now.
Got the Bulls. We got hopefully the Cubs
and the Bears.
The lockout.
The Bears are officially playing their last game of the season.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
3 wins in a row.
You know what? I've been thinking about this the last few days. Okay, you fire Matt Nagy. What's that going to do?
But you keep Ryan Pace.
Yeah, you keep Ryan Pace. What is this going to do? This means nothing. What do we?
That means the train stays on the same fucking tracks.
The guy who hired the guy that you just fired is now hiring the new coach. Oh, that sounds awesome.
Train's fucking not going anywhere, man. It's
unbelievable.
Same path.
Unbelievable.
It's like you got a bad engine and you just changed the tire.
And if you run or a football team for 7 years, what Ryan Pace has done, yeah, you're going to find a few draft picks that are probably going to be pretty good. But it's the ones that he's missed on. It's the Patrick Mahomes. It's the he never won a playoff game. And,
Well, you keep kicking the can down the road, too, by trading all these first rounders every year. And granted, I'm all in favor of making that deal to move up to get Fields last year. Is a move they had to do. They had to get a young quarterback.
But it's the ones they did before that,
right? Like the Khalil Mack you lose to, and then it's like it just builds and builds and builds and builds, and like whatever. Those trades they needed to make, but when you don't hit on your
when you're not competitive, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just like fuck, man. It's just there's this path to nowhere, and they're not going off of it at all.
So
Was
Bears,
Pace the one
Vikings.
that drafted Kevin White, or
Hey,
was
don't
that
worry
the?
about it. How about this?
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Kevin White,
Yes, he was.
great first rounder.
Still in the league.
I think he is. Yeah.
Still a rookie.
With the Saints.
Bears, Vikings. It'll be on TV. There'll be a lot of other games on TV
I
too.
watched 0 minutes of the game last week. Actually, I was watching all the other games.
Well, I have the
I had
red
the-
zone, so
I
then I
had the-
kind of have it
yeah, so
on
do
like
I.
in the corner.
I got the
So
red zone,
I'll
and
watch it for a little bit.
Sunday ticket too, so I was watching the
They
Bengals.
won, so
I was watching that Bengals Chiefs game. That was sick.
Yeah,
I'll take a win because it's not like it matters. It's not like they have a draft pick. So yeah,
I
season's
did
over.
not have Sunday ticket, and I was forced to watch that entire game because there wasn't even a game on CBS. So that was brutal.
Well, good. You saw him win.
Yeah.
Boomy, you got a wacky web story to end the show here.
I sure do, guys. And of course, I think we've all been frustrated at one point in our life through, playing sports, coaching sports, whatever it is, right?
Oh,
And we might have
never.
let
No,
our
not
tempers.
me.
No, I can't imagine either of you two. Actually, I can't even say that because Zach, I've seen you get a technical before. Matt, I haven't seen it, but I can make assumptions here. But I bet we've never gone as far as trying to pull the referee's pants down. And not only did this happen, but this happened to a top House of Representatives Republican for the state of Nashville, or the state of Tennessee. This man's out of Nashville. He had to apologize for losing his temper while being ejected from watching a high school basketball game after a confrontation with a referee.
Imagine getting so mad at somebody, you just walk up to him and depants him.
So he was watching the game.
I don't hate it.
I mean, it's a bold move.
It's a classic move.
The ref never saw that coming.
No.
There's no way. But let's see. His
The
name
worst
is,
part is if it
Jeremy.
accidentally catches the underwear.
Yeah, you're
screwed.
You're in trouble. Especially if it's a bit chilly in that building.
Yeah.
But Representative Jeremy
I swear it's
Faison,
cool in here.
Yeah, I was in the pool.
Jeremy Faison, a 45-year-old representative from the state of Tennessee, had to apologize on Twitter, said he acted the fool tonight and that he had lost his temper on a ref. I was wanting him to fight me, totally just lost my junk and got booted from the game. I've never really lost my temper, but I did tonight, and it was completely stupid of me. Emotions getting in the way of my rational thoughts are never good, and I hope to be able to find the ref and ask for his forgiveness. I was bad wrong. He tried to pull this grown man's pants down in front of a gym of high school kids. What is happening?
Fight me right now. Oh, you won't? I'll pull your pants down.
What? This was insane. The video's hilarious. I'll have to find it, retweet it. So if you haven't seen it yet, the school was like live streaming the game, and there was like a little skirmish at half court, and he comes out of the stands, and you can see him getting like told by the referees to like get back. He wasn't coaching; he was just there watching the game, and he was told to get back, and he starts to walk away, and he says something to the ref, and the ref comes over to him, and he like fakes him out like he's trying to pull his pants down. It's one of the most bizarre videos I've ever seen, and this guy is an elected official. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, but is it worse if you like lose, like he accidentally gets the underwear, or if he doesn't get the underwear, but the guy's wearing like whitey tighties, like just that might be worse.
Yeah, that could. I think this is a lose-lose situation for everybody involved.
Yeah,
Man.
I think he's screwed either way.
That's just funny that like an altercation would
move,
get to that point.
Yeah.
I've seen some fights in my days. I've never seen anybody try to pull somebody's pants off while in the middle of a fight.
Nothing counters a blown 3 seconds call like depantsing the ref.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
He overturns the call.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
he's that passionate. He must be right.
The other way.
He was right. So that's hilarious. Well, this was the TCF Morning Show Friday, January 7th. Thank you to Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at Schools_01 for joining me this morning. Follow us on Twitter at typical_Chicago. Follow me at ZLilia, TCF main page. Oh, no. Facebook. Type in Typical Chicago Fans, and Instagram. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there wherever you get your podcast from. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us wherever you get your podcast from. And shout out to Connect Roasters. Go over to connectroasters.com for all of your coffee needs and follow them on social media. Shout out to Joe Johnson, the founder, creator of Obvious Shirts, for coming on the show this morning. Awesome interview. And go over to obviousshirts.com and use the promo code TCF15 for 15% off of your shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. That's pretty freaking awesome.
They got youth stuff too. I'm gonna grab something for Owen. I think
it's TCF Day / Owen's birthday, so it's a big day.
There we go.
Friday, January 7th. Thank you for joining us. Anything else, boys?
Hey, go get you a shirt with the promo code. Treat yourself this weekend. You've had a really long, holiday season. Treat yourself with an Obvious shirt. But shout out to Joe for coming on, man. It was great having him.
Yes, it was. Maddie?
I was just scrolling the website real quick. They got a pre-order. The worst free agent signing of the offseason is all. So
That's
I love
great.
it. Perfect for the way DeRozan's been playing. I think that's the one I'm going to lock in.
That will be purchased by me. So go over to obviousshirts.com. Use the promo code TCF15 for 15% off of your purchase on Friday, January 7th. Anything else, boys?
Let's have a beautiful weekend, huh?
Let's go. It's been the TCF Morning Show, Friday, January 7th. We love you all.
Peace.